Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out Algorand's price chart, and surprisingly, in here now I'm seeing some optimistic signs. But whether that is suggesting for like 100% possibility we are going to get a huge move on the upside from the current point or not, you know what? I think that can be up for debate. And in today's update, we are going to check out all the structures that we are in here allowed to consider. So, are you ready? Let's dive in and see what is going on, and maybe it's best to go on 15-minute time frame, because if you remember the last time that we talked about algo, I think we were around here, and the idea was that this is probably a 1 2 3 4 5 wave up followed by a correction down. So I said most likely soon we are going to get at least another move on the upside in algo, because having a 5 wave up followed by a correction down is usually a bullish setup, suggesting a move up is indeed coming. Now, if you remember, specifically in the previous update, I said even if we get another move up, we shouldn't be at that point overwhelmingly bullish. Why? Because odds are that's going to be a correction structure, since this seems to be a 5 wave on the downside. And I said, look, on a higher degree, maybe we are going to have in here an A, B, C, which, excuse me, subways for it are going to look like this: 1 2 3 4 5 wave up into a correction for wave B. Let's say an ABC. We can have other forms of corrections, doesn't really matter. And then another 1 2 3 4 5 into C. Now let's go on the live chart. You see, overall I was saying this might be an ABC zigzag, and since we are having 5 wave down in here, well, okay, this might be a bit of a bearish setup, suggesting from here we should expect another move down in order to take this important low. But also we may end up going a bit lower and take probably the lowest low down here as well, about 22 cents, and then we should probably start bottom hunting. So what happened? You see, pretty much I'm going to argue what we said in the previous update. However, there are some nuance here and there. Why? Chief among them, I think, is the fact that in here we do not have for our C leg a 5 wave up. In fact, in my view, let's just delete this ABC. Okay, we are having 1 2 3 4 5 wave to about this point, followed by, yes, an A B C expanded flat, and this is most likely another 1 2 3 running flat into 4, another move up into wave 5. And wait a minute, what just happened? You are having maybe off of the lowest line here a 1 2 3 4 5 wave, which is actually a good sign, suggesting, you know what, maybe in Algorand we have hit our final low down here about 22.5 cents, and this might end up being a bullish setup, suggesting maybe this is a wave 1 correction for wave 2, and what's next? A strong move up into wave 3 4 5. So you see, we did get the move up that we talked about, but because of the subwaves, now this is opening doors to some serious bullish structures. Question is, can we argue this is in play, or maybe something else is going on? In my view, a lot, and I really mean it, a lot actually depends on what we are going to do in the next 24 hours. What? Let's summon more. Okay. By the way, let me be very clear. In my own time, I rarely go on such lower time frames. This is on 5-minute charts, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to count waves in here, but I'm doing this for the sake of educational purposes, so bear with me. I think this chart does have a lot to teach us. You see, I think this can be a wave 1 correction for wave 2, and then 1 2 3 4 5 wave down into wave 3, correction for 4 to about here, potentially in form of, yes, an A, B, C, D, E, a triangle structure, and another move down into wave 5. And here's a question: what happens after a 5 wave down? That actually depends, but one way or the other, we are going to get a move on the upside. Now, why did I say it actually depends what's going to happen after a 5 wave down? Because in Algorand, in the short term, you can consider two different counts. Scenario number 1 suggests that from here, we are having maybe an A, B, C in form of an expanded flat, and let's just even forget that 1 2 3 4 5 in here. This scenario says, look, maybe this is 1 2 3 4 5, which on a higher degree we're gonna have this 5 wave into this wave 3 correction for 4, another move up into wave 5. In other words, this might end up being like a much more bullish scenario relative to the previous cap. Now, here is a very important point. If such a structure is happening, then okay, right around the current point, let's say in the next 12 to 24 hours, we want to see a very strong move up, a 1 2 3 4 5 without a lot of overlapping of the waves. If we get this, okay, that might actually confirm that we are cooking something, especially here. On the other hand, if in Algorand we end up having a very slow and choppy pullback, maybe in form of a correction structure, which between our pullbacks down in here, you are constantly able to identify overlapping of the waves. At that point, please count on a bearish scenario to be in play in here, and then you should probably argue from these areas we are going to have a good continuation of the move down, and what's next, probably consolidation and even another move down in order to take this low for the first target around, let's say 23 cents, but you know, we may end up going a bit lower than that and basically sweep all the recent lows. So in Algorand, I do think we are going to have a move up soon, but the move itself honestly is not really that important. What really matters is the shape of that move. Now, here is a very important point for you. If you do not care about what is happening in the short term in algo, and for example, it's not really your concern whether we are going to go up or down, let's say in the next 3 to 4 weeks, then okay, at that point, may I suggest just pay attention to what is happening overall, because in my view, there's like a very high chance in Algorand we are having, there we go, from here 5 up into 1 correction for wave 2, and this is another 1 and a 2, this time on a lower degree relative to this one. And the idea is that soon after our correction for wave 2 is over, we are going to have what? Yep, you guessed that right, a massive move up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. So you see, the structures overall scream bullish in here, but again, in the short term, what's really happening can be a little bit up for the base. Now, if you want to know what is going on for our correction for wave 2, then okay, I think overall, once more, I'm gonna say it, if you do not care about what is happening in here, and having like a 10 to 20% move on the downside is not really going to hurt you at all, then okay, may I suggest pay attention to this potential head and shoulder structure right in here. Now, why did I say potential head and shoulder? Because this pattern at the moment is not really confirmed yet. When will it get confirmed? You know the answer. When we get a successful break of the neckline, and by that I mean we go above this region, do a slow and choppy pullback, and then get a continuation of the move up in order to take this important high. If we do this, at that point, couple of things are going to happen. Number one, well, okay, we are going to confirm this head and shoulder structure, which was going to be a likely target for it. Put your chart on regular scale and then measure the height of your pattern to about this point and put it at your breaking point. This is giving you in the short term about, let's say, like a 29 to 30 cents algorand, meaning what? From these areas, yes, we can expect bare minimum like a 20% move on the upside. However, in my view, that's not really that significant. What really matters is this. You see, after confirming this head and shoulder structure, let's actually go on a less busy chart. There we go. You see, I'm willing to bet that the moment that we confirm the head and shoulder, we are at the same time going to get a break of this important trend line as well, which in my view probably marks our final low in Algorand for this whole correction structure. And I'm not really sure, again, if you are a big fan of classic patterns, but if you are, not only you are allowed to talk about that head and shoulder, you are also allowed to talk about this potential wedge structure right in here, which will get confirmed. Guess what? The moment that we get a break of the upper line right in here. So again, if you are bored by the short-term price action and you are really not interested in watching Algorand in the short term, then okay, just have your eyes on these two very bullish patterns. And one way or the other, I'm here to tell you, in Algorand, we are looking fantastic, and most likely by the end of this cycle, in my view, we are going to have a beautiful bull run, which quite a likely target for it, in my opinion, can be setting an all-time high and taking the highest high, which is all the way up here around, let's say, $3 area. So overall, we are looking awesome. And in the midterm, we are also looking great, since I believe we are having in here a series of 1-2s. But for like very, very short time, if you care about that, all eyes on the next move that we are going to get, let's say, in the coming 24 hours. And the shape of that is really what is going to determine what is happening in Algorand in this area. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Algo's chart. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.